Okay, welcome everyone. I am so grateful that you joined us today to hear this amazing message from our own Dr. Sharon Collins. And my name is Susie Cruzy. I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm just pleased beyond all measure to be able to introduce you to Dr. Collins. And so let me just read a little bit about her bio, just so you get to know her a little bit. Dr. Sharon Collins graduated from Andrews University in Michigan and attended Michigan State College of Human Medicine, where she received her medical degree, and she did her pediatric residency there. She practiced as a physician for over 7 years in Kansas, and then for the last 31 years, she has lived in the Cedar Rapids area. Dr. Collins is the founder of Collins Wellness Center in Marion, Iowa. She's been actively involved in disease prevention and health maintenance from the start of her medical career. She emphasizes to her patients the importance of a nutritious diet and lifestyle habits that would optimize their health. Making these recommendations an integral part of her health maintenance during routine evaluations. She challenges patients to live a more purposeful, disciplined lives in order to avoid those pitfalls that occur when we live lives without restraint and intention. So Dr. Collins, I just want to thank you and know everyone that this heartfelt message that she's going to share and this charge for us to make that one step forward in our health will be evident in our call today. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my best friend and my colleague, Dr. Sharon Collins.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. I appreciate the taking this opportunity to talk to you. This is interesting times that we're living in. Our first slide, the next one, will talk about some of the things that happen when illnesses emerge like COVID-19. They unearth and they expose a lot of the assumptions that we have held for decades. How many of you have noticed that our priorities have changed? Our definition of what it means to be prepared has changed. Some of us have even changed our beliefs of what it means to be healthy and safe. We have relied so much on our healthcare system to tell us what we need to believe. And a lot of us have believed that the drugs and the protections we needed are coming from the healthcare system, but it's not. We have to be ready, and we have to do whatever we can to prepare ourselves. You know, it's very disconcerting to me to see our healthcare system struggling like it has been right now. They're struggling to do basic things that we expected them to be ready to do all along. If you could see from the next slide, they don't even have protective equipment. And it's scary for me to think that no one was planning ahead and preparing for the worst case scenario. Was anyone even sounding an alarm? Or were the alarms not heeded? We don't know. But even if the healthcare system, and it's not just the healthcare system, our entire country has been just at a standstill in many ways. Even if we had everything in place that we needed, we would still be in a crisis, wouldn't we? But it would be a little bit minimized. Now, we have believed that symptom relief is the basic cause, the basic way we deal with our health. And we have been much too focused on that instead of finding the causes of the symptoms. Subconsciously, what that does is that it fosters the belief that if you have no symptoms, it means that everything's fine. And it promotes the idea that symptomatic relief is the goal. And so what happens is when you get symptoms, you go to the doctor, and the doctor then prescribes drugs to get rid of the symptoms, so it actually starts to lead to multiple drug therapy. I think we've bought into a lie that we need drugs to cure all of our ills. We ignore the fact that there are side effects to these pharmaceutical drugs. And we have allowed the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry to give us the illusion that taking a pill will give us optimal health. It's not going to happen. Look at the next slide and you'll see a really interesting thing. You know, I remember as a pediatrician that I was giving a lot of amoxicillin to people who had ear infections. And then they started school and they were on Ritalin. And when they got into teenage years, they wanted to look good. So they were taking a lot of appetite suppressants and on and on and on until you get to age 65 and over. And everyone is on some kind of medication. They're taking everything. Enter COVID-19, the next slide. The boomer remover. I don't know if you've heard about that, but that is what COVID-19 is called. It is an RNA virus looking for living organisms in which to replicate. And unfortunately, they have found their targets in the baby boomers, those born from 1946 to 1964, because those people have been unable to mount a healthy resistance to their entrance. And their bodies have, because they're not functioning well, they have overreacted and produced a cytokine storm, leading to massive inflammation and in many cases, ultimate death. Viruses are not alive. They are pieces of information that need to invade a host cell and take over that host's machinery in order to replicate quickly. No antibiotics can kill it, and it spreads quickly. And most RNA viruses are respiratory viruses, so they spread very quickly through the air, killing many until we have a lot of people who are immune. COVID-19, unfortunately, found a group of people that are called the baby boomers whose immune systems were compromised or they had underlying health issues, and many of them just succumbed. But you know what I want you to know right now? Every one of us that is on this call, our immune systems are hindered right now. Do you know why? Because we have all been under enormous stress from the changes that COVID-19 has brought about in our lives in America. Many of us are afraid. We're afraid to do anything. We're afraid to go out right now, and that's understandable. And I just read something this morning where they had just arrested a woman who is going around licking produce in Walmarts and leaving them in order to give people infection. That's ridiculous. So you can't even trust that when you go into the store and buy something, you're not going to be exposed. So there are a lot of people right now who are under so much stress, and anytime we're under undue stress, that lowers our T cells. Our T cells are what we need to fight infection. So we are even looking at mitigating the effects of the stress that we're under. Now, I like to compare our bodies to the couple slides. It's the iceberg, picture of the iceberg. That's how I like to hearken the body, because there is a lot of us that you cannot see. And I'm talking about each one of us. There's a lot of each one of us that you cannot see. It is below the waterline. What you see is our skin and our hair and our beautiful smile and everything. And if everything looks good, people assume, wow, that's a really healthy person. You know, I take a different look at people. I see people differently. I look at the outside, and if it looks good, that's great. But I know that there is the cellular level, the place where nobody can see, where where the cellular level has to respond to a lot of things that come at us. There are millions of viruses and bacteria and other things that we are exposed to daily. And our cellular level is the thing that is reacting to the attacks that we get. Now, you can't see the cellular level, and even though I know that there's a cellular level, I can't see it either, okay? There are millions of things that I can't see, but you know what I do? I ask questions. And there are about 5 questions. Yes, there she is, the person that is like all of us, very stressed, very worried. But I ask questions. I ask a lot of questions, but 5 questions specifically I ask. Do you smoke or do you vape? What foods do you eat for meals and snacks? How's your stomach working? What drugs are you taking? And what do you do for exercise? And I can guarantee you that the answers to these questions make a lot of difference as to how I approach that patient. I can't know exactly what is going on, but I can tell you that our risk is increased in most people when, next slide, they do, like the patients that I see, the Medicare patients that I see, they're only eating 1 to 2 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, but they take 8 to 20 pharmaceutical drugs a day. They're mainly sedentary, 10% of them to sometimes a little bit higher, depending on the gender. And many were ex-smokers, but they have COPD. Anything that gives me a positive answer on any of these hijacks the immune system. And I know it's not functioning well. Their cellular levels are already compromised. But then you have COVID-19, and because of all the stress, everybody else is also compromised. So we have to do whatever we can to be intentional about making sure that our cellular system is functioning as well as it can be. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about a woman that I saw not too long ago. That's next slide. She had come to me because she was having problems with a little bit of depression. She was constipated. She was very fatigued, and she was having brain fog. And she was dealing with this for several months. And when she went to her doctor said, "Oh, I think what you need is a laxative." So he gave her a laxative for her constipation. And she was a little bit anxious, so he gave her an antidepressant, which could help not only her anxiety, but her depression. So she was on those 2, but she wasn't getting better, so she came to me. And I did some studies. I did a study that gave me an idea of what her micronutrient levels were. And then what we did was, when I got the results, we plugged it into 2 reactions that take place on the cellular level, One is the Krebs cycle, which is in the mitochondria. And it is the one that produces energy, ATP, if you remember that. That's our ultimate energy that we need. The other one was the next slide, the methylation cycle. And that is for detoxification, it's for DNA repair. It goes on in every cell of the body. So we plugged it into those two areas. Now, go back to the Krebs cycle again. And what you will see is little circles. They're green circles, they're yellow circles, and there's red circles, okay? Now, what I found out when I did that is that number one, she was deficient in vitamin B12. Explains her brain fog, doesn't it? She was also deficient, I think it was in vitamin, let me go back, vitamin B5, which is a pantothenic acid, which is one of the B vitamins. And she was borderline deficient in vitamin, that was vitamin B2, which is riboflavin, and I can't make out the other one right now. Oh, B9, which is folic acid. So what I did was we started giving her a nutrient therapy prescription, which allowed her to become replete. And guess what? All her symptoms went away. She did not need a laxative, and she did not need an antidepressant. All she needed was to be replete on the cellular system, okay? Now, the issue that I'm concerned about right now, and we can go back to that slide with the iceberg. What I'm concerned about is that at this moment, the majority or many Americans are as unprepared for health emergencies as our healthcare system is unprepared for COVID-19. I really think that COVID-19 has a positive side to it, if I could even imagine a positive side, but if anything, it is now screaming to us to listen and pay attention, because we are not prepared. We are not thinking right. We are expecting that if everything looks good, we can continue to do what we need to do, but we have no idea what is going to happen when we are faced with something that there is no vaccine for, there are no drugs for, and our systems don't know what to do. Unpreparedness is very, very crucial. So one of the things that people say is, well, what do I do? Well, number one, next slide, is that we have to stop eating the standard American diet. Because when you eat a standard American diet, you get the standard American diseases. It's going to happen because it is so devoid of nutrients that you will get your hypertension, your cardiovascular disease, your cancers, your chronic pain, arthritis, all of that, your constipation. It will happen. Now, it's frustrating when I talk to people about this. They go, it's food. Food is not that strong, not that powerful. Oh, but you are so wrong. See, that's what I heard my first year in medical school when I talked about, well, aren't we talking about diet here? And they're going, diet has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with all the things that we are talking about. We're talking about disease. Well, diet has everything to do with our immune system. The best way to hack, next slide, the best way to hack the immune system is to eat between 1 and 5 servings of fruits and vegetables daily, eat the standard American diet, be sedentary, be on 1 or more pharmaceutical drugs, be overweight, and use any type of tobacco, e-cigarettes, vape, or excessive alcohol. Now, some of my young people are going, I see them every day. They come in with their little vape thing, and and when I look at them and I say, that is going to kill you. And they go, Dr. Collins, no, it's okay. I'm all right. It's not going to be I don't have any problems. But now because of all the people who are vaping, we now have a mnemonic called EVALI, E-V-A-L-I, e-cigarettes, vaping, associated lung illness, or I forgot what I think it's illness, but that they are finding all kinds of lesions on these young people's lungs, which are putting them at risk. Now, all of them have underlying diseases, a disease that's going to put them at risk. Who wants to have that at this time in our lives? You don't want to have anything that would impede your lung capacity when you're dealing with something that attacks the lungs and causes you to die of not being able to breathe. This is wrong. We are needing to change the way we do things. Now, what do we need to do? Next slide. The first thing, I'm going to talk about the first thing that I would do is to start planting seeds from your home, in your home right now, so that as soon as this weather changes, you can start your garden. I will do that, but I want to also get an aeroponic system so that I can grow those fruits and vegetables mainly that I can grow inside, so that when I cannot go outside or go to the store, I can still get what I need. One of the things, I have a tower garden from Juice Plus, but it is at our school right now, at the church school. And even though school is out, we have been too tired to go, and too busy actually, to go and get it, take it down, clean it. And so I miss that tower garden. I am missing fresh food. And when I think about people going around and licking things, I want this in my house, and I want it in my house yesterday. So you can put your gardens outside, but I think you need to start thinking about growing your vegetables and other things indoors right now. Think about preparedness. We have to be prepared for what could happen in the future. Now, the other thing is, go back to the other, yes, we need to flood our bodies with as many plants as possible. And why am I saying that? Am I just saying that just to get you to eat what you don't really want to eat? No, I'm not saying that for that. I'm letting you know that the micronutrients that are in the plants, like I said with that patient, are these substances that run and drive the cellular reactions. They're the only ones. You can't do it with just 1 or 2 vitamins. You can't do it because, well, I'll tell you that a little bit later, but you need to flood your body with as many micronutrients as you possibly can. And it's not just, well, I think I'll have this today or have that today. No, that is not the way we prepare. We prepare intentionally. No, I will do this because I have to be prepared. We have no idea what is going to happen in the next few months. Taking, and I think the next slide, one of the things that I want for you to think about is that our cells are alive. And when we go to the store and we get a little multivitamin, most of those things are synthetics. And I do have to use synthetic vitamins to get people's vitamin levels up, but I always tell them, you need to do the foundation here. You need to start with live foods, foods that you pick off the tree, foods that you pick off the bush or pull out of the soil, things that are alive. You cannot depend on synthetic vitamins to just give you everything you need. The other thing is that when you look at an apple and you look at a little bottle of vitamins, you have maybe 10, sometimes 20 nutrients in that bottle, but in that apple, you have hundreds, thousands of nutrients that many of us don't even recognize. We don't even know what they are yet because we're not smart enough. We don't know what the molecular structure of these things are. But the one thing that happens in that apple is that all those nutrients work in concert together to bring about the end result of what we need to make our cellular systems function optimally. Sorry. The other thing I wanted to talk about right now is, oh, there is our tower garden. Go two slides, yes. Go back. Yes, a well-rounded diet has many different fruits and vegetables and other plants. You cannot forget seeds and nuts and legumes. Some people go, I can't eat legumes because they give me gas. You start a little bit at a time. You make sure that you cook them so thoroughly that you take away some of the damage that can be done, but you can begin to eat those to give you the nutrients and the fiber that you need, because we have to have fiber to have our bowels moving well. And that's one way that we detoxify. So if we're not eating a well-rounded diet, we're not getting everything we need. Now, I eat, and I've always eaten, about 7 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Why do I eat Juice Plus? I eat Juice Plus. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you a secret. I take and eat Juice Plus because I am under oxidative stress, because my stress level, my busyness is so extreme that I have to have something extra, those antioxidants, to mitigate the problems that are going on my cellular level. The other thing is that I am not as physically active as I used to be. And so physical activity is necessary. We have to get more physical activity. So that's one of the reasons I take Juice Plus. I have to bridge the gap. So that's why I am doing 7 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables, and also all the other things. Practically everybody that I see is deficient in vitamin D and zinc and omega-3. Those 3 things, I can guarantee that when I test people, they have those deficiencies. Excuse me. So I want you to know that even when you eat a lot of good fruits and vegetables and plants, you may still be deficient in those 3. They are powerful antioxidants, and I recommend those for people. I know Juice Plus has an omega-3, and there are other places where you can get good omega-3s, but please pay attention. You have to have these, especially now. You do not want to go into this season with a vitamin D level, which should be 60, of 12.5. That's the last person I saw, and I had to put her on 50,000 international units of vitamin D to get her up to the place where we can then start giving her daily vitamin D. Now, I want to tell you about two studies here. One was in the Journal of Nutrition by, it was a double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized study of 59 healthy law students. And they were placed on either placebo or fruit and vegetable juice concentrate, which was Juice Plus. And they took this for 77 days. And what they found was this. Now, these were all healthy people, apparently. But the fruit and vegetable juice group had fewer symptoms when you compared them to the placebo group. And on the 77th day, there was a 30% increase in circulating T cells in those who were taking the Juice Plus products, and a 40% reduction in DNA damage in the people who were taking the Juice Plus product when compared to the placebo group. What's the big deal about DNA damage? That means they were under oxidative stress, and the oxidative stress was destroying their DNA. They also found that these people had increased plasma nutrients and an antioxidant capacity, which was increased. All of the members of that group, whether they were in the placebo or the other group, were considered healthy. Another study, which was a randomized placebo-controlled study, was at the Journal of Integrative Medicine. And this is where I really want us to look at, because these people were elderly. The subjects were elderly. They were 60 to 86 years of age, and they were smokers and non-smokers. Now, 2 blood samples of blood were taken at the baseline, and then they were tested at 40 days and 80 days. So this was an 80-day research study. What they found was that there were significant rises in the serum antioxidants compared to baseline values. Natural killer cells, or NK cells, increased significantly. And what was their conclusion? The fruit and vegetable and juice compound supplement enhanced immune function in these elderly subjects and improved their IL-2 levels in the smokers. So even the smokers got a lot of benefit. IL-2 is a T cell growth factor. So anytime that's increased, your T cells are increased, and your ability to fight infection is better, is improved. Now, the interesting thing is that very few people ask me how they can beef up their antioxidant level with food, but I am now getting calls asking if I would please prescribe them hydroxychloroquine sulfate because they are so afraid of COVID-19. Now, I'm not against this drug. My husband was on this drug for 2 years as an anti-malaria drug when he was in Vietnam. Almost 2 years, because he had to keep taking it after he came back from Vietnam so that he was protected. So I'm not against it. It saved his life. He didn't get malaria. And I prescribed it in a couple of my patients, teenage patients who developed lupus. So Plaquenil has been around for a long time. But Plaquenil, or the hydroxychloroquine sulfate, has 23 serious side effects. Luckily, not everybody has those, but you're still opening yourself up to all kinds of possible reactions, adverse reactions when you're taking this. Now, you know, we're talking about COVID-19, but it's not the only thing. There are other pestilences that stalk in the darkness. Remember Psalm 91? Okay, so the US deaths from COVID-19 are greater than 13,000 right now. The US death from influenza this year has been 46,000. And of that, greater than 136 of those 46,000 deaths have been in children. In fact, they said that this year was the worst year for influenza deaths in children in a decade. So we're not hearing about influenza, but it's not because it's not one of those horrible pestilences. About 10 years ago, when we were checking kids, we started doing RSV testing, respiratory syncytial virus testing, and these kids had the same symptoms as those who had RSV, but they were negative. We couldn't figure out what was going on, and finally, we found out that there was a new virus that was out there that was doing pretty much the same thing, called human metapneumovirus. And it attacked children, but you know what? It also attacks the elderly, and they can end up in ICU and on a ventilator because of metapneumovirus. So who knows all the other things that are going on right now? We don't know what we don't know. And that is why we need to do whatever we can to protect ourselves. Now, nothing is permanent except God and His Word. This season will pass, and coronavirus will go away, at least for a time, but there will be other viruses and other illnesses, so we need to stay prepared, because it takes 2 to 6 months from the time you are depleted to the time that you build enough build enough nutrient levels that you are now replete. So you can't say, oh, I'm just going to go and take these fruits and vegetables and now I'm ready. No, you've got to stay prepared. You do not want to be caught unprepared. Now, I will tell you that even though I try to do all of these things to stay prepared, I am still doing my part with social distancing. I wash my hands. In fact, what I do when I go out is I wear gloves and I wash the gloves, and I do not take those gloves off until I come home, and then I wash my hands again. I wear masks when I'm outside. I keep my hands off my face, off my eyes, my nose, and my mouth. I disinfect the handles. I disinfect my steering wheel. But I tell you, I do all of that, not necessarily for just me. I do want to be healthy, but I also do it for my colleagues who are really working hard right now in medicine to help people who are critically ill. And you know what? I cannot even imagine what they're going through right now. I know how I would feel if I were there. So I don't want to increase the work that they have to do. I want to help them. I want to help prevent more immunocompromised people from getting infections. And I want to protect my family. So, and I want you all to do the same thing. The thing that I also want you to remember is that no matter what we do, our final trust is in God. Now, I know that there are people, I don't know if I'm talking to anybody here that don't believe in God, but I will tell, I'm talking to those of you who do. And those of us who do, God has asked us, if my people will pray. Didn't say if everybody would pray. If my people will pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and I will heal their land. We need a healing in our land right now. We need a healing like we've never had before. So this is the time we need to pray. And I recommend that those who are God's people take communion every day. We need to remember what Jesus did for us on the cross to protect us from all of these things that are going on in the world today. Okay? As a physician, I want to give you everything that I can give you in prayer and hope and more encouragement to do everything that you need to do to help yourself and to help your family and those around us. Thank you. I hope this has been helpful.
Myself. Oh my goodness, Dr. Collins, that was so amazing. I just thank you again. Let me go ahead and stop the recording.